Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harachakudash. Double honors be to the apostles and others at Great Millstone who rule well, and if taught is 100% truth, much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful. Elect of the Bishnat, this word of thought, truth, and sincerity to all you Akim. I do say Shalom. I'm the Akira. I'm coming in with a quick video going into that spiritual power, right? Which this world dubs superpowers, what the scriptures dub spiritual power. And that's an actual, thing. It's legit. So for those of you who believe in the Holy Bible and its apocryphal counterpart, which formerly were composed together, as seen with the 6 and 11 version, as well as under the abbreviation of the KJVA, you'd come to find out that there is such existence, and it's written throughout the scriptures a variety of precepts. Right. They were killed. What's it called? An example could be a human against the alligator. It takes some serious gut and strength to be able to succumb. It's like it overcome an alligator. Only certain cases have been shown that a man has come on top. Usually it's the other way around. Alligator beats man. Same thing with the lion. So the fact that, going back to Judges, the 14th chapter, Daniel was able to rent said lion as he would rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand, and he was barehanded, no freaking battle axe, no nothing. That was spiritual power, super strength, dude. Also invincibility, because a lion's teeth are sharper than ours, and they're able to puncture. Actually, our teeth are able to puncture, through flesh, but that whole psychological science behind it, going into how your brain prohibits you from doing so. But that's why when you see, like, in these video games like The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie was able to... No, it was Abby that was able to bite off Ellie's fingers. So, there's that, but the fact that, he may have gotten bit, but the teeth didn't penetrate into it, that's invincibility. And that's an actual thing Achim, what's it called, always, meditate on. Anyways, another verse. I was rambling too much. Going back to the point. I'll pull out the book of Judges, the 15th chapter, verse 14. Now, for a bit of context, if I'm mistaken, I forget what happened. I think he burned fields, and the Philistines were like, "Who did this?" And they burned up. Did they burn up his father-in-law's? So I'm gonna go back up. Judges 15:6. Then the Philistines said, "Who had done this?" And they answered, "Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion." And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father. Yeah, I was right, with fire. And Samson said unto you, "Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease." And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt on the top of the rock at them. Okay, then fast forward down to verse 13. Yeah, verse 13. He's being persecuted. Them Judites, if I'm mistaken, take him out to deliver them to the Philistines. And it reads, "And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee." And they bound him with 2 new cords and brought him up from the rock. 2 new cords, that must have been fresh and pretty hard to get out of. You must have been bound pretty tightly. But here's the thing. In verse 14, it says something very miraculous. "And when he came into Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord, again, the Spirit of Yahweh, came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that were burned with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and he poured forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith." Now, he had energy, crazy energy, so That's also spiritual power. Going like in Isaiah 40:31, which I'm gonna pull out. Now, they shall run but not be weary. Weary, having excess energy. Human, what's it called? Humans get tired quickly. But it says, he slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps. The jawbone of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. How about that? So that was another example of spiritual power. Now I'm gonna pull out, going back to Bell and the Dragon. This is about teleportation. I remember in 2020, the year of prophecy, we're talking about how them hornets were, transported from Asia to the Americas because they popped out of nowhere. How do you teleport them? Well, it's even written right here. Bell and the Dragon 1, verse 33. Now there was in Jewry a prophet called Habakkuk who had made pottage and had broken bread in a bowl and was going to the field for to bring it to the reapers. But the angel of the Lord said unto Habakkuk, go carry the dinner that thou hast in Babylon to Daniel, who is in the lion's den. And Habakkuk said, Lord, I never saw Babylon, neither do I know where the den is. Then the angel of the Lord took him by his crown, which is the top of your head, and bare him by the hair of his head, and through the vehemency of his spirit set him in Babylon over the den. How do you go from so here's my question. How do you go from the fields to the den in Babylon? The lion's den. You can't make that up, bro. That's teleportation right there, dude. And then jumping back down, what's it called? 39. So Daniel rose into the and the angel of the Lord set Habakkuk in his own place again immediately. God damn. That's not fiction. That's true. So again, answer my question. How the hell can you teleport? Because it's a real thing. It's a legit thing. You can't make that up. On God. As they say. Or it's lucky. I don't want to say that. That's not right. But, those are 2 examples or 3 examples of that power. When you look at Invincible from Amazon Prime, The Boys from Amazon Prime, I guess K-pop, not the K-pop Defenders. Not them. Because their power comes from their fans and weapons. We're talking about no weapons. I mean, Samson rent the freaking lion barehanded, dude. So that, hey, one thing that comes to mind is David. Did he not smite? Did he not break bows of steel? I'm pretty sure. Yes. I mean, isn't it written in Psalms 144:1? What's it called? This is the book of Psalms 144:1, the Psalm of David. Blessed be the Lord Yahweh, my strength, which teaches my hands to war, my fingers to fight. Right. My goodness and my fortress, my high tower, my deliverer, my shield, and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. Now, if I'm mistaken, you actually had P. Hegseth, the Secretary of War of Babylon, actually, used as precept to, show support and aid for the Babylonian military. But that's the thing. And, the Lord ain't blessing your strength, dude. Actually, in a sense, you have the sword. Right? But, that's faltering pretty soon. But yeah, this pertains to Jake mostly. First and foremost, ultimately, rather yet. Now, anyways, I made the mention of both of steel or with iron, I forget. Looking around. Okay. Bear with me. Psalms 18 and 29. For by thee I have run through a troop, and by my God have I leaped over a wall. Now, off the bat, the thing that comes to mind is freaking A-Train. Acting like a freaking train ramming through crap, dude. He ran through Robin in the comics and also in the show. which, upset Huey. So, hey, by fee I have run through a troop. How about that? And by my God, have I leaped over a wall. That's spiritual power. So, you play GTA 5, you do the cheat codes. There's one of the cheats where you leap freaking high, dude. And you have to realize, back in the ancient world, walls were freaking tall. So, they're the size of a freaking, skyscraper at that. Not take that back. But, kind of high. Like 3 stories high, probably. Yeah, because not a skyscraper. I think the first skyscraper was in the 1800s in Chicago, and it was like only several stories tall. Yeah, well, just imagine a big wall, that's less than a skyscraper, than the first skyscraper. So, what we consider, medium average, higher, whatever, not that tall. Back then it was tall. And even then, what you would, what's it called, leap over your freaking house, I freaking think not, I think not. I beg to differ, unless, spiritual power. Anyways, it goes on to say, he maketh my, Salahia, where was I? Yeah, I'm gonna jump down to verse 32. It is God that girdeth me with strength, that's spiritual power. He maketh my feet, super strength, right? He maketh my feet like hinds feet, and setteth me upon my high places. He also has super speed. I mean, wasn't it Asahel? And I think it was 2 Samuel. Yeah, he's chasing. I think it was Abner, and he was described as running as fast as a road, to roughly paraphrase, which roads are freaking fast, dude. So that's super speed. He maketh my feet like hinds feet. Anyways, verse 34, he teaches my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by my arms. Right. So punching crap, dude. Punching crap like the Iron Fist himself, like freaking, Luke Cage, going ham, going ramping like freaking Hulk, think Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is my favorite, by the way. Hawkeye, Falcon, etc., 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 dude. That's how great, that's how powerful he was through that power. Hey, you look at what's it called, Invincible from the show or in the comics. Omni-Man was pretty hard. Look at freaking Metro Man. You do your power scaling. Metro Man freaking bodies Omni-Man. Metro Man, dude freaking froze time and was doing like a bajillion things. Now, he didn't freeze time itself, but he was moving faster than the speed of light to the point where it looked like he froze time. We're talking about crazy super speed. Like he was reading books, fishing, flying a kite or whatever, all within to the power of 10 or within to the power of 144,000 of a nanosecond. He was moving. He was moving within to the power of 144,000 at the first nanosecond. That's how fast Metro Man was moving. He was reading books. Can you do that? Can the Flash do that? Can Quicksilver do that? Nah, Quicksilver freaking fell to dodge a bullet in the MCU and freaking died. I bet the freaking differ, dude. We can move with super speed as hell. So I can't rephrase that. I bet I differ. Only Metro Man can do that, and we're gonna be moving as fast as he. That's what I wanted to say. I confused 2 sentences together. We're gonna be moving fast as hell. See, I'm so excited. I'm confusing my sentences. The brain moves faster than your mouth. I combined 2 sentences into one, and it made no sense. And that's an example of flaw of this body, of this flesh, and the spiritual body. However, you'll be, what's it called? Speak faster than that one. It was Edomite who was able to read fast. I think he sang Bad for Michael Jackson within 20 seconds. We're going to be able to sing songs faster than 20 seconds. Off the bat, within 1 second, it would just sound like a blur, like a brr. But within that brr, You're actually pronouncing full-on sentences, full-on words like a true God. How about that? How about that, gang? How about that? Now you tell me this is fake. I mean, how was I freaking turn invisible? He turned invisible, gang. And he talking about some, oh no, that's fake. Motherfucker, that ain't no fake. That's freaking legit. That ain't fake. It's not written. The things that are written there are faithful and true. You can't fit incredulity and a lack of faith and disbelief with, faithful and true. They're two opposites, bud. And also, if it's true, it supports the precept, the Lord is not a man that he should lie. Therefore, if the scriptures be divinely inspired by yours truly, why then would he be a liar? And more so it is evidently true, True, and that is not a lie. And that what's it called? I stand bold to my convictions. I stand bold to my convictions that this is legit. This is not adding unto the word. This is a part of it. I'm gonna pull out the precept where he turned invisible. John 8:59. Then took they up stones to cast at him, but Yahushua hid himself and went out of the temple, going through the midst of them, and so passed by. And it wasn't saying that what's it called? He ducked down, he stooped low, hid behind some chair, and then what's it called? Quickly evaded them. No. He turned invisible and walked through them. Point blank, mother flipping period. Which supports the case of him walking on water. The infamous, I would say infamous because people hate that. They don't believe it's true, but I believe it's true. And very soon it will go from infamous to famous. As the elder Apostle Tahar said, therefore I am right and you're wrong, and therefore hope this is most edified. Until the next one I do such a one.